What's up, my friends? Welcome to the Live Wide Open podcast. I'm your host, Randy B. Ramirez, also known as Wide Open Randy, and I'm here to serve anyone who's looking to level up from their current situation. This show is dedicated to helping raise the bar for all the motorsport enthusiasts out there, those who want more out of life, those who want to do more, those who want to be more, those who love the thrill, the joy, and the connection of what these high performance engines bring into our lives. Because holding it wide open is just what we fucking do. Being a great freaking person is who we are. And living our life to the fullest is the lifestyle that we choose. Yo, and if you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and smash that button so that you never miss another episode. Today, today we're going to be talking about getting it up. Can you get it up? And no, it's not that. So get your fucking mind out of the gutter, my friends. We're going to be talking about getting it up in terms of riding your motorcycle, riding any motorcycle for that means, you know. We're going to be talking about the term commonly known as popping your clutch, popping the clutch. And what that really means is, for those of you that don't know, is popping the clutch is a term that is used, is a technique actually that is used to raise the front wheel of your motorcycle off the ground so that you producing a wheelie, so that you can make a wheelie happen, so that you pop the clutch with, the clutch is typically on your left hand side, unless you've customized your motorcycle, but typically it's on the left hand side, and so you pop it, you snatch it so that your motorcycle front wheel comes up. And so last week when I introduced the new Motorsport Wednesday framework, we talked about learning to use your foot brake. Your foot brake's on your right foot. It's the rear brake, and we started there because it's really, in my opinion, one of the most important things for you to lock down as a motorcycle rider. Like, if you learn good foot brake work, if you learn great foot brake work, and you master that technique, man, you could pretty much jump on any bike and you can fucking kill it. You can master any bike that you really think about that you jump on, no matter the CCs or the power level. If you really are confident and you really have mastered the foot brake, you gives you the ability to jump from bike to bike to bike, and fucking look like you know what you're doing. But the foot brake alone won't get you wheelies, right? Yes, the foot brake is the thing that holds your bike from going too far backwards. It's the rear brake. It kills the momentum as the bike is coming up off the ground, right? But there's way more than just knowing how to cover, your foot brake for you to wheelie your motorcycle. And the reason why I started with the foot brake is really was because I see so many people who want to learn to wheelie, who want to learn to stunt, who want to learn to, have good control of their motorcycle, and they immediately go into the handbrake. And so and for those who don't know, the handbrake, it's typically a lever that you put, a lot of times, like very commonly actually, it's installed underneath the clutch lever, and that handbrake controls the rear brake, in a different line, or old school wise. When I learned back in the day, we didn't have these special brackets that they make nowadays. We would tap into the foot brake line, but now you could have them ran independent from one another. But pretty much it's another brake that controls the rear brake of the motorcycle. And so the purpose of the foot brake or the handbrake is really to stop the momentum, to from when the motorcycle is going too far back, so that you can have good control of it. And so, you know, and I feel like the reason why a lot of riders go immediately into the handbrake before learning the foot brake, it's really because the handbrake is way fucking easier to master, to control, than the foot brake is, because I really think that it's just, it's easier to control something that's on your hand, on your fingers, rather than this on your foot that you're pressing, with your I guess with your toes, with your whole entire foot, really, that you're pressing down. And a lot of people just go straight for handbrake. And I talked about it on last episode. Don't fucking do that. learn the foot brake, master the foot brake. Um, and the reason why I said that is because when you master the foot brake, then everything else comes with ease, and then you can jump from bike to bike to bike, and you can fucking kill it, you can be a good rider. And because I see a lot of people that know how to use the handbrake really good, but then they don't know how to use no foot brake, and they jump on a bike that doesn't have a handbrake, and they're stuck. They can't wheelie. And so we'll talk about the handbrake use and all that, and how that applies into doing wheelies and stunts and all that in a future episode. But for now, like the foot brake, this is something that really comes with and the reason why another reason I guess why I wanted to really start with the foot brake, in addition to in my opinion it's the thing that you want to master first, is because the foot brake comes with pretty much every motorcycle from factory. The handbrake is something that you add in addition to the motorcycle. Like most bikes, like a large majority of the bikes, don't come with a handbrake because on the left side, because that's where the clutch comes. And so from factory, they only come with a foot brake. And so if you're just learning the basics, if you're just learning how to wheelie, my recommendation always is for you to not install a handbrake on your motorcycle until you become very, very, very good, and you can fucking hit that foot brake um, without even having to think about it, with ease. Like master the fucking foot brake first before you even think about adding a handbrake to your motorcycle. Because as soon as you feel how easy it is to do the handbrake, you won't want to learn the foot brake. And you're going to be just known as a handbrake queen. We all joke about that, because you take the handbrake off and then people are stuck and they don't know how to wheelie and they're like, oh my god, they're going crazy. But if you learn to master the fucking foot brake first, you'll become a way better rider, because you can jump on any bike stock. It doesn't matter if it's fucking modified, because you learn how to use the foot brake. And today we're going to be talking about wheelies and how to I guess there's two real techniques. You can power wheelie and you can do a clutch up. I prefer clutch ups. So it's worth repeating it. And I said this the last episode. Since we're talking about the foot brake will save you 99% of the time. Trust that motherfucker. Like, if you feel like you're doing a wheelie and you feel like you've gone too far back, because you're out of your comfort zone or whatever, like, do not panic and do not let go. This is something that happens so frequent with new riders, with people who are learning to wheelie, because I get it. Like you're going too far back and you're like freaking out, like, oh my god, and you immediately let go of the motorcycle so that you can kind of hold yourself, I guess, from hitting the ground or whatever the fuck it may be. That's the worst thing you could do. Like, you want to hit that foot brake, and it's like I said, it'll save you 99% of the time, from your motorcycle going too far back, unless your rear tire is physically off the ground from so much momentum, or you're just going so fast far back that it might not save it. It might be a couple other reasons, but 99% of the time, your foot brake will fucking save you. And I personally would rather slam the foot brake so hard that you freaking, I guess, mousetrap going forward. You slam the bike going forward rather than losing the bike backwards and it flipping and tumbling on you. So trust the foot brake. Use it, master it. But how do you even get the motorcycle up on a wheelie in the first place, right? That's what we're going to cover today. But again, I wanted to start with the foot brake because the foot brake is what's going to save you. Knowing and trusting the fucking foot brake is first, my friends. In my opinion, it comes first. Then you start tying these techniques together. And so I kind of mentioned it already. There's kind of two techniques that I know. You can power wheelie and then you can clutch up, in order to get the front wheel of your motorcycle off the ground. And so power wheelies are pretty much just that, like using the power that's of the engine of your motorcycle, typically like in a lower gear, like first gears. If your motorcycle has a lot of torque, like nowadays, these motorcycles bring a lot of torque. You probably do it in second or third or whatever, but typically it's in first gear when you're learning to power wheelie. And what that does is that basically you overpower the throttle on your right hand, so that the engine starts pulling the motorcycle off the ground. It starts overpowering it, and it's so much momentum being built that the motorcycle won't stay planted. It starts coming up as you hit the throttle, right? And so that front wheel starts coming up. The more throttle you hit it, um, and this is a very basic technique, and this technique is actually a lot easier, I guess, than clutching it up. Clutching it up is just popping the clutch, and we'll talk about that now, in a couple seconds. But power wheelies, I guess, using the engine's power to just as you're taking off to give it a lot of, to get on the throttle and make the motorcycle come up off the engine. It's really kind of like a very basic move, and it just depends on the power of the motorcycle that you're learning to ride on. Like, is it sometimes it's possible and sometimes it's not. Sometimes doing power wheelies, it's very easy. Sometimes it's really not possible. Like, for example, if a lot of riders nowadays, they learn on Groms. Groms is a little Honda 125cc little motorcycle, super fun. And a lot of riders use these motorcycles nowadays to learn the basics. And then what they do is they transfer those basics onto a bigger bike, because now you've kind of learned the techniques and the principles of how to do what you want to do. And then now it's just applying it to a bigger bike with more power. But back when I was learning, like, Groms didn't exist. So I just want to say, consider yourselves lucky that nowadays, if you want to start learn how to wheelie, that you have a Grom around, because it makes it so much, I guess, safer or easier, or the term is, and I just because I didn't have it doesn't mean I won't recommend it. I actually recommend it to a lot of people, like, that they want to learn how to wheelie, that they want to learn how to stunt, that they want to learn how to, like, kind of manhandle their motorcycle around. Go pick yourself up a Grom. It's a little motorcycle that you can really manhandle this thing. And I always recommend them because they're just so much more forgiving than a bigger bike. And not only that, but if you loop it, if you crash it or whatever, it's so much more affordable to fix a little Grom that costs maybe, like, let's say 5,000 just to keep things rounded, brand new one, versus $10,000 bike, or a 15 or a $20,000 bike. And you could get used Groms for way cheaper than that, maybe 2,000, 3,000, whatever the market is going nowadays. But um, I recommend using a Grom if you want to learn how to wheelie, if you want to learn how to stunt, if you want to learn how to do basic tricks. It's more forgiving. It is more challenging because the Groms don't have a lot of power, but it actually makes you really learn how to maneuver, balance, and use the engine's power to your advantage, because there's really not that much power. And so on the Grom, it's actually very difficult to do power wheelies because it's only a 125cc. Like, those shits barely have any power. And so, on the contrary, if you have like a bigger bike, if you have something with more cc's, if you have something that has like 600, 750, or 1,000, or 1,300, a higher boost or whatever, it's fucking way easier to do power wheelies, because those bikes just naturally, they want to fucking go, they want to take off, and like, you get on the gas and the bike just wants to come up on you because of how much power it has. Especially if you're on the lower gears, and like a lot of these bigger bikes, you don't even have to be in first gear. You could be second, third. You have a bike that has a lot of horsepower like that, it's going to come up on you when you smash the gas hard. um, and so, just be careful. And so, really, the technique of power wheeling, it just comes down to really basic, holding the handlebars good, kind of taking off in first gear, and just getting a feel for it. Don't smash the fucking throttle all the way right off the bat, but get a feel for it. And as you're taking off, you're going, and you want to give it some throttle so that you can feel the bike starts coming up. And as you feel the front tire come off the ground, you kind of get smooth on the throttle, or you give a little bit more throttle so it can come more up, or a little less so it can come back down. Always remember to cover the foot brake. Always cover the foot brake as you're learning these techniques. But the power wheelie is really basic, and it's really simple because you're just using the engine's power, and all you're using is your right hand to control the throttle, as the motorcycle produces more power and lifts the front tire off the ground. And at that point, it's just getting comfortable with how far back you want to go. Um, and so, as you're learning, as you're doing power wheelies, or as you're learning to get the front tire off the ground, get more comfortable as going forward back, and just be careful. Don't get too much speed, because then you're just chasing the wheelie. And what that means is chasing is, if you're thinking about a motorcycle like this and this is balance point and you require no gas to be up here, chasing it is kind of like having it like very, very angled, very little angle, so that it requires a lot of speed to kind of keep the tire off the ground, versus the higher you go, the less throttle to a certain extent is going to take for you to keep that momentum. And so another technique that is the clutch up technique, and this is actually my favorite technique. I love using the clutch up technique, and for me, I like it a lot more, and I feel like this method is a lot more reliable. It's a lot more predictable, um, because I guess it requires more feel, versus a power wheelie. You're just kind of giving gas and you're seeing how the bike goes, and maybe that to some people it might be a little more easier. And I do recommend for you to start that way if you don't know how to wheelie at all. Um, but the clutch up is where it's at. The clutch up is what you want to learn. The clutch up is what you want to really master down, and kind of learn, so that you can wheelie on command, pretty much, right? And so, yes, it is a more advanced technique, the clutch up, but in my opinion, it's way more controllable. It really is. And so, clutching it up, what that means is that you pull in the clutch lever that's on the left hand side, and you pull it in the clutch lever so that the engine is now free spinning. And if the clutch is in, no matter how much you rev it, the engine's not going to move forward, right? And so you rev up the engine a little bit with the RPMs a lot higher than at idle. And then what you do is you pop it, or you release the lever, so that the engine's momentum can grab, the engine that's spinning, it could grab. And what that does is, as you release the clutch lever, the engine's power picks up the bike, picks up the front wheel off the ground. Um, and so popping the clutch ends up, the end result is typically getting your front tire off the ground. And depending on how much RPM you use, and how aggressive you pop that clutch, is how fast it's going to come off the ground. And so a common question that I always get, and I always give the same fucking response back. I always get, oh, what RPM should I hold it to right before I clutch it up? And man, I always give the same responses. Don't fucking look at the RPMs. Don't look at the tachometer. Like, what I always recommend is feel it out. Like, you want to feel it, you want to hear it out, you want to see how the bike responds to the techniques, to the strategies that you're applying to the wheelie. And so really what I always say is go little by little, like rev it up, kind of here's where it's going. And the reason why I say don't look at the fucking tachometer, or this, the tach, is because when you're riding, like when you're like on the street, or on a closed course or whatever it is, like, you're not going to be concentrated on this fucking thing. Like, you want to feel it, you want to hear it, you want to be one with the motorcycle, so that you're concentrating on what you're doing, not fucking looking down. You want to be focused, and so you want to get a feel for this. And so you want to go little by little. So you want to rev it up a little bit, then you want to pop the clutch, and you want to see how it responds. You want to go little by little. You don't want to rev it ridiculously and pop the clutch. That bike is gonna freaking fly off of you. It might even fucking want to do a cartwheel. Go little by little and see how the motorcycle reacts. And every fucking motorcycle is different. Like, and on top of every motorcycle being different, every gear that you do it in, first, second, third, is going to be different. And then you even have motorcycles that you can be riding the same motorcycle, but if that motorcycle has a different size sprocket in the rear, it's going to respond differently. It's going to fucking be more torquey on you. It's going to want to come up a lot easier. So go little by little. Feel this out. Like, don't rely on, oh, I have to raise the RPM and hold it at 6,000 RPM and then pop the clutch. No, man. My recommendation is to feel this out. Go little by little. Rev it a little bit, pop the clutch, and see how it reacts. And if you need more, okay, you're most likely you're going to want to need more gas, and you're going to need more gas, and you're going to need more gas. But don't go right off the bat all the way as much as you can go, because it's going to fucking flip you over. Go little by little, feel it out. Don't look at the tach. Just feel this motherfucker out and see how it goes. And see how the motorcycle responds to what you're doing, right? The clutch up technique is kind of simple. Like, I kind of been talking about it, and in one way or another, I've already described it, but you rev it a little bit, go wham, 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 and you pop the clutch, and you see how much the front tire comes off the ground. And if you want some more, give it some more gas. And if you want some more, give it some more gas. If you want some more, give it some more gas. And once you pop it, know that it's going to come up, and you got to be responsive to the throttle, because if you stay on the gas as it's coming up, the bike will tend to fucking loop you, right? So remember, foot brake. Always cover your foot brake. No matter how, I'm gonna say no matter, but 99% of the time, the foot brake will save you. So you want to practice this technique over and over again. You want to pop the clutch, you want to keep revving it, and you want to get a feel for it. Don't rely on it has to be at 6,000, it has to be at 7,000, it has to be at 8,000. Don't rely on that shit, because then you're gonna be handicapped to that, and you're not gonna be able to do a wheelie without looking at the tack. And then what happens? You're gonna be looking at the tack, and someone freaking brakes in front of you, or something pulls in front of you, and you're gonna be just distracted. Like, don't do that. I always recommend to get a feel for it. You become one with the machine, and then just practice this over and over again. And when you're practicing this, like, be careful where you're fucking practicing it. Like because things can go wrong, and they will go wrong very easy. I always say this, like, it's not a matter of if you want to do these stunts, if you want to do wheelies, if you want to do, like, if you want to ride like aggressively, it's not a matter of like if you will go down, it's when you're going to go down. If you push the limits like long enough, you will go down. So wear gear 100%, minimally a helmet, pants, gloves. You can wear a jacket, highly recommend it. And practice this in areas where there's not that much people around. Practice this, like, do not practice this in fucking traffic, because what happens is that you're gonna get like in your head, or let's say things do go wrong and your bike loops, or then you don't want your bike hitting another car, or an even worse, a car running you over when you fall off your bike. Like, don't do that, man. Practice this shit away from traffic. Practice this in a controlled kind of area. Don't, because that's how we get a bad rap. That's how we get, people just judge us because they see rookie ass riders practicing on the street that can't wheelie, and then they fall, and then they hit another car, someone hits them, and then, like, save that once you really know what you're doing for the streets. Practice in a lot, in an abandoned road, in a dead end road, somewhere where you're not gonna be a hazard to a lot of people out there. And then, and I gotta say this because I see, and it's natural, because you get hyped up, you're riding with people who are wheeling, and you're like, oh man, I want to do that shit too. And like, and I've been there. There was a time where I didn't even know how to fucking wheelie. So I I know how it fucking goes. You get hyped, and you just happens, and then you start popping and clutching up the wheelie, and then you start chasing wheelies, and when you have people around you, and then you cause a fucking accident. So as you pop it up, you're gonna chase some wheelies, because that's just the nature of the beast. Like, how you learn it is you start popping it up, and the bike's not gonna go as far back because you're not gonna be as comfortable going far back. So you're gonna have to give it more gas, and the bike's gonna start picking up a lot of speed. And then what happens is that if you're not careful, you're gonna fucking run into someone in the front, or a car's gonna pull out, or you know, because you pick up a lot of fucking speed when you're chasing wheelies, and it's part of fucking learning. And so, for those of you that are not familiar with the term chasing wheelies, and I think I covered this already, but I'll just say it just in case. Chasing wheelies is saying that because you're literally chasing, because you're on the throttle so much, because the lower the front tire is in relation to the ground, the more speed that you have to increase to keep the tire elevated, right? And so as the more far back you go, the less speed that you have to increase because of physics. So obviously, while you're learning to wheelie, you're gonna have to chase to a certain extent. But I always recommend to keep that shit to a minimum. Like, if you notice that your bike is gaining too much speed, if you notice that, oh, you kind of popped it up and you clutched it up and it's not going where you want it, like, and you start chasing, like, man, just stop, put it down, slow down again, and try it again. Try again. Don't fucking chase these high mile per hour wheelies. Like, that's how you get hurt. That's how, I always say, when I see people going and chasing and tracing, and then they get aggravated and they're chasing, I was like, yo, stop. Relax, put it down, slow down, take a deep breath, and focus on height versus on speed. And you want to be another thing that as you pop it up, as you clutch it up, and now the bike is coming up, and you want to be smooth on the throttle. You can't just hold the throttle locked in when you clutch it up. When you clutch it up, is because the bike is going to keep going on you. So you need throttle control, and if you don't know what you're doing, and you jam the fuck out of the throttle, like you're gonna loop it just because the bike is powerful. Like, and that's why I always recommend to learn on the ground, learn on little bikes, so that you can get comfortable with how going far back. You can get comfortable with side to side balance. You can get comfortable with just feeling how it feels to be on one wheel far back, because it does bring a little rush to you. It does make you feel like give you some butterflies sometimes if you're going too far back. So practice is going to say spot, wear your gear, and don't look at the tach. Rely on feel on the engine, become one with the bike, um, and you'll get it. Practice, practice, and practice, and you'll get it. And so we covered the foot brake last week. Today we discussed power wheelies and clutch ups, and I'm kind of giving you guys the basics. Obviously it takes practice and it takes you going out. And by all means, I'm not no professional that I know it all. Like, I'm just giving you what has worked for me. Um, and next week we're going to be talking a little bit more about throttle control and how you can actually mix the three. Your foot brake, your clutch up, and throttle control, so that you can learn to really just rock some long ass wheelies. Because you don't want to chase, because you're gonna run out of gear, and you're gonna be going really too fast. And in my opinion, slow wheelies are controlled wheelies. Um, so tune in next week, and we'll cover how to mix the three together so that you can do some nice controlled long wheelies. So my friends, I'm driving the checkered flag deep into the ground, and I'm calling out all the motorsport enthusiasts who want to improve their situation. Let's break free from all the shit that's been holding us back, and let's prove to the world that we're genuinely some badass motherfuckers. Those of you who made it to the end of the episode, I want to say that you got yourself a win, and I truly appreciate you for investing your valuable time into the Live Wide Open podcast. This movement is called Live Your Life Wide Open, and helping others improve is the mission that God has tasked us with. We are driven individuals working on breaking the fucking stereotype and becoming the best that we can be. Join me on this journey where we help as many motorsport enthusiasts as possible to create the best lives that we can imagine. Yo, and I'm going to mention it again. If you haven't subscribed yet, man, what are you waiting for, bro? Go ahead and smash that button, hit the subscribe button so that you never miss another episode, my friend. You can follow me on Instagram. My handle is Wide Open Randy. And if you felt any connection to today's message, I genuinely ask that you please share this on your stories, because those are the actions that really just help us spread the message. I'll catch you guys on the next episode, but till then, live your life wide open, my friends. Peace.